Hey guys, welcome. How you all doing? All right, tires. We're gonna talk about tires today. Round things. Cars usually have four. Most of the time they're filled with air. They're black. I don't know. They got tread. We're talking about some maintenance items that really need to be done with tires. Well, what do you think they are? What do you think needs to be maintained? Probably number one is tire pressure. Gotta have good tire pressure, or else it can wear uh, 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 unevenly. So you get parts of the tire that wear more than others. Anyways, tire rotations, and then kind of checking to make sure that it's okay. It doesn't have any like screws sticking out of it. We'll talk about it. Tire pressure, usually within cold, it needs to be cold. I generally check mine once a month or so. I mean, new cars have tire pressure monitoring systems to tell you when they're 2 pounds low or 2 pounds high. Why do you think we need to check it after it's been sitting for 3 hours? Well, it has to do with heat. Heat causes the pressure to go up inside the tire because the air volume inside the tire expands. That causes the pressure to change. So, after you're on the highway for a while, or especially if it's a hot day, tire temperatures can reach, 100, 115 degrees without too much of an issue. So, well, what are we talking about? Well, you can look at tires that are 32 psi when you start and 40 psi when you're done. So that expansion, that heat expansion, can give you a problem. Also, it's cold too. It gets really, really cold out. That volume shrinks and then pressure drops. That's why you see a lot of times when there's a sudden abrupt temperature change, all of a sudden everybody's got TPMS lights coming on, or you notice your tire's low. Okay. All right. Where do we find the specified pressure? And realize this is a trick question. Tire pressure that's for the car is for the factory OE tires. Okay, but let's say I have a replacement set of tires. They're not the factory OE tires anymore. Well, that means the pressure may be different than what it says on there. I go with low profile tires or big high rock crawling tires on my truck. That changes the air pressure requirements. What's marked on the car, what's marked in the door jamb might not be correct any longer. We're going to talk about this when we get into class because this opens up a whole big can of worms. Anyways, a good place to start is what the factory says. Okay? And then tire rotations. I'm going to stick with radial tires because that's by far the most common. If you have a bias ply, if you're driving a big heavy truck or something, or a really old car with old original tires, but you can figure that out on your own. Generally what we do is, we do with, one of these, X cross things. So we take the front, driver's side tire and move it to the back, and then the rear driver's side tire, move it to the right front, and then take this, right rear and move it up to the left front. But most people just swap them front and back. They'll just roll this one back here and put this one up here, which is actually okay as well. Okay, it's acceptable. Or, you just do an X, this one up here and this one over here. Well, they got to be careful. Some rims are not staggered for this, and we talked about that. We talked about tires. Or you can have wider tires in back and narrower tires up in front. Anyways. All right, tread wear indicators. There's bars that go across the tire tread when it's, the tread is wearing out. There's also a tool to do this. Now, you should own one of these things, and I'm going to request that you buy one for, the $2 that they cost. This actually measures the tire tread depth. And when we get down to about 3/32 of an inch, the tire really does need to be replaced. Okay, so we got radial bias ply, belted bias ply. We're just going to focus on the radial tire since it's the most common. So underneath, we have the tread area, and this radial design has less rolling resistance. Read that as better gas mileage, which is the reason why most people have it. These treads, underneath the tread, it's reinforced with belts. And it's, differing materials. Steel is the most common. We have rayon, aramid, we have a couple of different kinds. I mean, some of these guys are like, sporting Kevlar, which it's bulletproof, right? At least it should be. Okay. And then we have different types of tread patterns. Often all season is the most common. I mean, we have ice and snow. We also have, you guys have seen like drifting tires or racing tires or, there's different treads that, do different things. They're good at different things. So here's my tire construction. So we have this, the tread, that's, the part that you see, and then underneath that we have these belts and cords. And then here in the bead area, we have, usually a big steel cable, the bead wires. And then there's, some belting in the sidewalls as well, although it's thicker generally in the tread area because that's the most, abused. So we got beads, we got the carcass, we got the inner liner. This inner liner, it's a smooth inner liner. We got to be careful with that. It's very thin, and it's critical to like keep air in and stuff. And then we have the tread, which is the outside part that wears. We also have valve stems that lets the air in and out. Usually there's like a, you've seen them, you push down on it. This is also where the TPMS lives. I'll show you that when we get into class. Tire sizes, P205, 75, R15. These numbers mean something. First letter stands for the type of vehicle, either a passenger for P or an LT for light truck. First three digits number is the width, and that's sidewall to sidewall at the widest part. So this is, how wide the tire is, but it's measured at the sidewall. It's not really measured at the tread. You got to be careful of that number. And then the 75, the second two digits, is the aspect ratio. That's a ratio in height percentage to sectional width. So how tall the tire is and how wide the tire is. And then the R is the type of tire it is. B is bias, D is diagonal, and R is for radial. And then the last two numbers is rim size, 15. Now, we have 15s, we have 18s, we have 32s, we have 20, whatever. We have a lot of different sizes. And this is measured at the bead area, how far it is across. You do have to be very careful. We have a 16 and a 16.5, which it's really easy to shift those. And is it possible to put a 16-inch tire on a 16.5 rim? Yep. I've seen it done countless times, so we do need to be really careful of that one. The rest of them, you really can't put a 14-inch rim on a 15-inch tire or vice versa. It just doesn't fit. But the 16s and the 16.5s, we do have to watch. Be careful of that one. All right, sports car tires. Now, this one is a VR tire. It's V-rated. That's the speed rating of the tire. That's what it's designed to handle. So some of the basic ones are S is like good to 112, H is to 130. All the other information stays the same, and there's a bunch of these out there now. Higher speed rating tires generally are more expensive. Now, can you put a lower speed rating tire on a higher speed rated tire car? Well, yeah, but it's dangerous. Don't ever listen to a customer that says, well, I'm never going to drive that fast anyways, because it really doesn't matter. He gets into an accident, any type of an accident, and they're looking at those tires, and you put them on, you are liable for this. When we get into class, I'll read you a couple stories. But reading the sidewall. There's other information on the sidewall. We have maximum tire pressure, which is usually mistaken for what you should inflate the tire to. Usually they're about 50 pounds. That is not the pressure rating of the tire. That's its max pressure. They should never be filled to that. Get it? That is not the tire pressure recommendation for the car. Anyways, we also have load ratings, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff. Number of plies in the sidewall tells you how the tire is constructed. The dot manufacturing codes, which gives you the date code. Read your book for that, because you're going to need to know that. And then what it's made out of, what the core materials are made out of. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about this. Uniform tire quality grading, 30,000 miles is 100. So if I've got a 240 tire quality rating tire, that tire is rated for 72,000 miles. Okay? Stickier tires get better traction, but they don't last as long. Harder tires last longer, but they don't get as good of a traction. We okay? It's a trade-off. And we got traction codes and temperature codes. Spare tires. You guys have seen those little space saver spares? A lot of cars nowadays aren't even coming with spares. Isn't that great? Excuse me. But if you have a spare tire and it's a full size, you can drive on it. It's unlimited mileage and, no real limitations on speed other than, cops. But we have these space saver spares, which are the little ones. Those are only good for a maximum of 50 miles, and then they're supposed to be replaced. And it's temporary by design. And some of these things are only, some of these things are only good for like 35 or 40 miles an hour. Got to read the sidewall. I love watching these people roll on down the highway. They've, it's 70 miles an hour with these little space saver spares on there. Man, I'm going, no, I'm going to kill somebody. They are temporary by design. Okay, safety rims. And we're going to talk about rims a lot. But we have this drop center right here, okay? And then safety ridges. So, if the tire gets, flat, it tends to ball up in this drop center. This is also how we get the tire out. More on this later. Usually they're made out of steel, or they're made out of aluminum or some type of composite like a magnesium or something. They have the safety ridge, and this stops it from the tire from rolling off the rim during hard cornering, even when it's fully inflated. Also, it keeps the tire on the rim during deflation. Although, if you drive long enough, that is going to come off there. It's not pretty when it does. Installing road wheels. Usually this diagonal pattern when tightening. So we don't just, go around with the lugs and tighten them. We have to do it in a star pattern or, an X. So 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Usually I'll do it in groups. I won't, tighten one down all the way. I'll snug up the first one, snug up the second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, and then come around and do it one more time to torque them to specifications. We will talk about this, torque specifications of this. Tire repair. Okay, there is a repairable area. I'm going to include some stuff into the module on this, but realize that not every shop is the same. Some people say that the repairable area is anywhere in the tread. The Rubber Association, yeah, there's a Rubber Association. They specify 1 inch in from the corner. Okay, so here's the corner of the tread. It's one inch in, which is about that much of your finger. Okay, some shops, this first tread groove, like this one right here, they won't repair anything on the outside of this. Sidewalls can definitely not be repaired, but you do need to take this up with your shop where their repairable area is, because some vary. And again, we will talk about some of this when we get into class. Okay, I'll show you how to do this. Okay, there are 2 types of tire repair. There's punctures and slow leaks, and we're going to be discussing these again. Punctures are usually filled with a plug patch. Slow leaks are usually around the valve stem itself, or in the bead area is really common. and we'll talk about how to fix those as well. Punctures, patching punctures. We use plug patches. We plug the hole and we patch the hole. There are these other ones will just run a plug in the tire. It's really not an acceptable repair anymore. We don't do that, although you may work at a shop that does. We'll talk about it. I recommend a plug patch. Slow leaks. We just, we can put it in a dunk tank, and we have one, and I'll show you how to use one. But you can also do this at home by just, setting the tire down and spraying it with some soapy water and just letting it sit. It'll foam up right where the bubble is, or right where the leak is. It'll bubble up, it'll make soap bubbles. That's really a good way to do it too. So most slow leaks will be at the bead of the tire, or you'll have some type of injury to the tread of the tire, a screw sitting in there, and it's just leaking around it very slowly. Older steel rims can develop this problem also with rust in the bead area that needs to be cleaned off. Balancing. Again, we're going to run through this. I'm going to demo all this stuff when we get out in the lab. But we do this to extend the tire wear and, to make the ride better. We use an off-the-car spin balancer. These guys, are really pretty accurate, although we need to be careful on our operation of this piece of machine because it is real easy to introduce some inconsistencies in, the balance of the tire. We'll talk about it. Generally, you have somebody says their steering wheel shakes. Generally, that's not an alignment issue. Generally, that's a wheel balance issue or a brake issue. If you have a wheel shimmy and you lightly put your foot on the brakes and it goes away, generally that's a brake problem. Front rotors are warped. But let's say you don't, you push lightly on the brake and it doesn't go away. A lot of times that is a wheel balance problem that needs to be fixed with balancing. All right, reading the tread of a tire. We can look at very closely at a tire and tell if there's work that needs to be done, not necessarily to the tire, but to the car itself. When I purchase a used vehicle, I don't like it when they have brand new tires. First of all, they pick the cheapest tires they can find, and second of all, it takes the ability to read the tire away from me. And you can do this just by running your hand over it. And I'm going to show you how to do this when we get into class. We also may skip a belt to impact brakes or a defect in the tire when they're made. And we'll talk about this. You can spin the tire and you actually see the tread of the tire going past and it goes whoop, 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 whoop. That's a shifted belt. Tire needs to be replaced at that point. You ain't fixing it. All right, here are some of the most common wear patterns. Overinflation. We overinflate the tire. The center of the tire, the contact patch in the center gets smaller, so that puts more weight in that section of the tire, and it wears out faster there. So we get, less tread in the center and more on the outsides. And then we also got underinflation, which is the opposite. We get more wear on the outsides of the tire and less wear in the center of the tread. And then we got this. This is an excessive camber. So what that is the whole tire is leaning to one side and it's not riding flat. It causes one edge to wear. This will really destroy a tire very, very quickly. And this is an alignment issue or bent or worn parts. Incorrect toe, and this is a feathered edge. And we can just feel this by running our hand over the top of it. And usually this is bent or worn parts or an alignment issue. Scalloped wear, and this is just chunks, literally chunks just taken out of the tire. You ever driving next to somebody in the highway and the tire's going, want me to do it again? Anyways, what happens is that causes a scalloped wear on one side or edge of the tire, or both sides if it's really bad. This is usually shock absorbers, okay? Suspension components worn or back to bad shock absorbers. We okay? And we're going to talk about a lot of this stuff and go more in depth when we get into the lab. Got it? See you there.